Imagine the screech of a subway car, the flash of lights, and then a shadow that isn't quite human. For decades, whispers of the Shadow Man have haunted the tunnels beneath our cities, preying on the lost and the unwary. We're diving deep into these chilling accounts, separating the horrifying truth from the terrifying fiction. What if the most terrifying urban legend isn't just a story? What if there's a predator lurking in the dark, forgotten corners of our subway system, and no one's talking about it? We're taking on the chilling tale of the Shadow Man, fact-checking every alleged encounter and disappearance to uncover the true horrors that might be hunting beneath your feet. It's 2 a.m., the last train has gone and you're alone on the platform. Suddenly a sound, a scrape in the darkness that shouldn't be there. This isn't a scene from a horror movie. For some, it's the beginning of a nightmare tied to the Shadow Man legend. We're pulling back the curtain on this terrifying urban myth, investigating if the real danger lies in the shadows or just in our own fear. The subway's hidden horrors, fact-checking the Shadow Man's hunting grounds, the phantom lurking below, unpacking the Shadow Man myth. It was late, probably past midnight. A hushed voice began, recounting an experience that sent shivers down spines across the internet. The platform was deserted, just me and the flickering fluorescent lights. I heard this dragging sound from the dark end of the tunnel, like something heavy being pulled. Then, from between two parked cars, this figure emerged. It wasn't tall, not exactly, but it was impossibly thin, a silhouette that absorbed the light rather than reflecting it. No discernible features, just pure, unadulterated shadow. It moved with a jerky, unnatural grace, gliding rather than walking, and I swear I felt this cold dread settle over me, like something ancient had woken up. I didn't wait. I ran. And I haven't taken the subway alone at night since. This chilling account, echoed in countless variations across forums and whispered conversations, forms the bedrock of the Shadow Man urban legend. The myth paints a picture of a malevolent entity, a being of pure darkness said to inhabit the deepest forgotten recesses of urban subway systems. He is described as a spectral figure, often seen only in peripheral vision, lurking in the gloom between stations or at deserted platforms during the late hours. His motives are vague yet always sinister. Some say he feeds on fear, others that he preys on the lost, dragging them into an unseen abyss. Why has this particular myth resonated so deeply, capturing the imagination and fear of millions? Is this a genuine threat, an unseen predator stalking the labyrinthine tunnels beneath our cities, or merely a reflection of our deepest subway fears, personified into a shadowy specter? Eyewitness accounts, separating fact from fiction. Analyzing the myriad eyewitness accounts of the Shadow Man reveals a fascinating consistency in their vagueness. Descriptions frequently include phrases like blurry figure, something dark that moved too fast, or a shape that wasn't quite right. These encounters often occur in low-light conditions, during moments of isolation or heightened anxiety. One common thread is the sudden disappearance of the figure. A blink, a turn of the head, and it's gone, leaving behind only an unsettling sense of dread. Psychologically, these characteristics align strikingly with a phenomenon known as pareidolia. Our brains are hardwired to find patterns and familiar shapes, even in random stimuli. In the dim, often confusing environment of a subway tunnel, with its complex interplay of shadows, reflections, and sudden movements, it's incredibly easy for the mind to interpret an inanimate object, a trick of the light, or even a distant person as something more sinister. The flickering of overhead lights, the distorted reflections in grimy windows, the sudden appearance of a maintenance worker in the distance, all can be misconstrued, especially when our guard is down and our imagination is primed by fear. This effect is amplified by the power of suggestion. Once the idea of a Shadow Man is introduced, every unexplained anomaly becomes potential evidence. Shared legends and online forums act as echo chambers, transforming vague personal experiences into concrete sightings, each reinforcing the collective belief. A simple shadow cast by a support beam morphs into a lurking entity, and a fleeting glimpse of a homeless individual seeking shelter becomes a terrifying encounter with the unknown. The digital graveyard of the internet teems with these amplified anecdotes, each post adding another layer to the Shadow Man's mystique. But when we transition from anecdotal forum posts to verifiable data, a stark reality emerges. Investigating historical missing persons reports, cross-referencing alleged Shadow Man-related disappearances with official police and transit authority records from the past few decades yields a striking absence of a consistent pattern. While tragic disappearances certainly occur, and some individuals do vanish within or near transit systems, the official narratives rarely, if ever, point to a shadowy supernatural predator. The crucial difference lies in distinguishing between anecdotal evidence and documented police reports. A desperate forum plea from a relative convinced their loved one was taken by the shadow man, while emotionally compelling, lacks the concrete details, corroborating witnesses or physical evidence that would be present in a legitimate police investigation. Police reports, while sometimes incomplete, catalog specific circumstances, last known locations, and any investigative leads. The shadow man simply doesn't appear in these official records as a cause of disappearance. There are no consistent descriptions from multiple unrelated witnesses to an abduction, no forensic evidence of a non-human entity, no patterns of victims sharing a specific trait that would attract such a being. However, it would be disingenuous to dismiss all disappearances within transit systems as mere fiction. The forgotten cases are a somber reminder that genuine human tragedies unfold in these urban labyrinths. Individuals experiencing homelessness, those with mental health crises, or victims of genuine crime can indeed vanish without a trace in the sprawling, often unmonitored expanse of subway tunnels and stations. But these disappearances, while heartbreaking, are typically attributed to very real, very human causes: accidents, foul play, or simply becoming lost in the system's vastness. There is no discernible, consistent shadow man pattern linking these disparate cases. No signature of a singular supernatural entity at work. Each tragedy, when investigated, reveals a human story, not a spectral one. Beyond the captivating myth, the true terrors of the underbelly are far more mundane, yet no less dangerous. The real threats within subway systems are tangible and immediate. Accidental falls onto the tracks, often exacerbated by intoxication or distraction, lead to severe injuries or fatalities. Track intrusions, whether intentional or accidental, expose individuals to the lethal third rail or oncoming trains. The dangers of living rough in the tunnels, escaping the elements but encountering other more human predators, or the perils of an unforgiving environment, are well documented. These are not the work of a supernatural entity, but the harsh realities of urban life intersecting with a complex industrial environment. The psychological impact of urban isolation also plays a significant role in fostering an environment ripe for fear. The vast, often lonely environment of subway tunnels, particularly during off-peak hours, can breed a profound sense of unease and vulnerability. The echoing sounds, the flickering lights, the feeling of being cut off from the world above, all contribute to a heightened state of anxiety where the mind is quick to conjure fears to personify the unknown. It's a primal reaction to an alien environment, a feeling of being adrift in a concrete sea. Historically, subway systems have indeed been sites of genuine, documented accidents and crimes. From the infamous New York subway vigilante incident of 1984 to countless smaller, unpublicized acts of violence and tragedy, the tunnels have witnessed their share of human suffering. These events are concrete, verifiable, and often have lasting societal impacts. They stand in stark contrast to the ethereal, unproven claims of the shadow man, reminding us that while the supernatural may capture our imagination, the real dangers often lurk in the all-too-human realm. The psychological impact of urban isolation also plays a significant role in fostering an environment ripe for fear. The vast, often lonely environment of subway tunnels, particularly during off-peak hours, can breed a profound sense of unease and vulnerability. The echoing sounds, the flickering lights, the feeling of being cut off from the world above, all contribute to a heightened state of anxiety where the mind is quick to conjure fears, to personify the unknown. It's a primal reaction to an alien environment, a feeling of being adrift in a concrete sea. Historically, subway systems have indeed been sites of genuine documented accidents and crimes. From the infamous New York subway vigilante incident of 1984 to countless smaller unpublicized acts of violence and tragedy, the tunnels have witnessed their share of human suffering. These events are concrete, verifiable, and often have lasting societal impacts. They stand in stark contrast to the ethereal, unproven claims of the shadow man, reminding us that while the supernatural may capture our imagination, the real dangers often lurk in the all-too-human realm. Guarding the gates of our consciousness, our primal fears remain deeply rooted, often manifesting as urban legends like the shadow man. While the figure itself is a myth, the underlying anxieties it represents are profoundly real. The fear of the unknown, the vulnerability of being alone in a vast impersonal system, the dread of a sudden inexplicable disappearance. These are universal human experiences that the Shadow Man legend taps into. It gives a face, however blurry, to our deepest subway fears, allowing us to project our anxieties onto a supernatural entity rather than confronting the more uncomfortable, often mundane truths. This understanding, however, offers a unique form of empowerment through awareness. Instead of succumbing to the paralyzing fear of a phantom, we can focus on practical precautions and safety practices in public transit. Vigilance, for instance, is not about scanning for a shadowy figure, but about being aware of one's surroundings, avoiding distractions like excessive phone use, and trusting one's instincts about suspicious behavior from actual human beings. Staying in well-lit areas, especially late at night, and ideally not traveling alone during off-peak hours are simple yet effective measures. Reporting unusual activity, whether it's a broken light or an individual behaving erratically, contributes to the collective safety of the transit system. These are not defenses against a spectral entity, but against the very real dangers that exist in any large urban environment. The true guardians of the subway are not supernatural protectors, but rather the collective responsibility of its users and the diligent efforts of transit authorities. Improved surveillance, better lighting, increased police presence, and community engagement programs all play a crucial role in making these subterranean worlds safer. When we understand the psychological underpinnings of our fears, we can address them with rational, actionable strategies, rather than dwelling on fantastical threats. Ultimately, the Shadow Man serves as a captivating yet ultimately misleading distraction from the genuine vulnerabilities we face. It's a testament to the human mind's capacity for storytelling, for creating monsters in the shadows to explain the inexplicable or to personify our anxieties. But why do we create these monsters? Is it a way to cope with the randomness of life's tragedies? To impose order on a chaotic world by attributing misfortune to a malevolent force? Or is it a reflection of our enduring fascination with the dark, the mysterious, and the unexplained, even when the truth is far more prosaic, yet no less impactful? The question lingers, a whisper in the echoing tunnels, long after the last train has departed. It forces us to ponder not just what lurks in the shadows, but what shadows lurk within us. The conclusion of the Shadow Man's mythos brings us to a compelling crossroads, where the spectral fades into the psychological and the fantastical gives way to the fundamentally human. We are left not with a definitive answer to a phantom's existence, but with a deeper understanding of ourselves and the environments we inhabit. The lingering question of why we conjure such beings in our collective consciousness remains a powerful one, inviting introspection into the very nature of fear and storytelling. It beckons us to consider the profound interplay between our internal landscapes and the external world, particularly within the cavernous, echoing spaces of the subway. The true terrors of the underbelly, therefore, extend far beyond any supernatural entity. Subway systems, by their very design, present a unique confluence of real dangers. Accidental falls onto tracks, often exacerbated by distractions or intoxication, lead to tragic consequences. The danger of track intrusions, whether intentional or accidental, poses a significant threat not just to individuals, but to the entire operational integrity of the system. For those experiencing homelessness, the tunnels offer a desperate refuge, yet expose them to extreme hazards from live electrical rails to moving trains, all while battling the elements and the profound isolation of these forgotten spaces. These are not the machinations of a shadowy predator, but the harsh realities of an unforgiving urban environment. Beyond the immediate physical dangers, there lies the insidious psychological impact of urban isolation. The vast, often lonely environment of subway tunnels, particularly during off-peak hours, can breed a profound sense of unease and vulnerability. The sheer anonymity of the crowds, coupled with the enclosed, often disorienting spaces, can amplify feelings of anxiety and fear. It's a place where personal boundaries dissolve, and the individual can feel utterly insignificant, a mere speck in a relentless mechanical behemoth. This psychological vulnerability can make even the most mundane sounds or fleeting glimpses of movement feel sinister, priming the mind to interpret ambiguous stimuli as threats. It's in this fertile ground of unease that urban legends like the Shadow Man find their most potent sustenance, offering a convenient, albeit terrifying, explanation for inexplicable feelings. Moreover, the historical context of subway dangers reveals a tapestry of genuine, documented accidents and crimes that have occurred within transit systems. From structural collapses in early construction to devastating train collisions and acts of violence, the history of subways is punctuated by very real tragedies. These events, often extensively reported and meticulously investigated, stand in stark contrast to the vague, unsubstantiated claims associated with the shadow man. While the number of real disappearances in or near transit systems is indeed a somber reality, police records and transit authority reports consistently attribute these cases to a range of human factors: accidents, crimes perpetrated by other individuals, or personal choices. The absence of a consistent, verifiable pattern that points to a singular, non-human entity is telling. The true horror isn't the shadow that hunts, but the vulnerability of human life in a complex, often indifferent, urban machine. The genuine, documented dangers within these subterranean labyrinths are often far more chilling than any supernatural tale. These are the narratives that demand our attention, not for their fantastical elements, but for their stark reality and the lessons they offer in practical vigilance and safety. The genuine, documented dangers within these subterranean labyrinths are often far more chilling than any supernatural tale. These are the narratives that demand our attention, not for their fantastical elements, but for their stark reality and the lessons they offer in practical vigilance and safety. It is crucial to understand that while the Shadow Man remains a compelling myth, the underlying fears he represents are profoundly real and deeply rooted in our collective psyche. These fears tap into our primal instincts, reflecting anxieties about the unknown, the dark, and the vulnerability of being alone in vast impersonal spaces. The monster in the shadows, then, becomes a convenient scapegoat for a myriad of anxieties that are, in fact, entirely human and entirely rational given the environment. This brings us to the crucial point of guarding the gates, not just physically, but psychologically. Reaffirming that the Shadow Man is indeed a myth, we must pivot our focus to the very real, tangible precautions that can be taken to enhance safety in public transit. Empowerment through awareness is paramount. This means actively encouraging vigilance and the adoption of robust safety practices. Simple actions, often overlooked, can make a significant difference. Staying aware of one's surroundings, avoiding distractions like excessive phone use, traveling in well-lit and populated areas, and reporting suspicious activities to transit authorities immediately. The strength of a community, even one as transient as subway passengers, lies in its collective attentiveness. Practical precautions extend to personal accountability. If feeling unwell or disoriented, seeking assistance from station staff or fellow passengers can prevent accidents. Understanding the layout of stations, knowing where emergency exits and help points are located, and being familiar with train schedules can reduce feelings of vulnerability. For those who regularly use the subway late at night, opting for cars with conductors or near other passengers and maintaining communication with friends or family about travel plans adds layers of security. These aren't just suggestions. They are vital components of a proactive approach to personal safety that acknowledges the inherent risks of urban environments without succumbing to irrational fears. The discussion of safety also necessitates a broader look at infrastructure and policy. Investing in better lighting, more visible security personnel, functioning surveillance systems, and rapid response protocols are responsibilities of transit authorities. A safe subway system isn't just about preventing crime. It's about creating an environment where every passenger feels secure, where the psychological impact of isolation is mitigated by a sense of order and protection. When these systems are robust, the shadows lose some of their metaphorical power, and the mind is less inclined to conjure specters from the dark. Ultimately, the Shadow Man legend serves as a powerful mirror, reflecting our deepest fears about urban life. It's a narrative that speaks to the anxieties of anonymity, the dread of helplessness, and the chilling thought of being consumed by the vast, indifferent machinery of the city. We create monsters in the shadows not because they exist, but because they give form to our formless anxieties. They offer a tangible antagonist, an explanation for the inexplicable unease that sometimes grips us in the bowels of the earth. So, as we conclude this journey into the hidden horrors of the subway, let us ponder this. Why do we as humans feel compelled to invent such terrifying entities? Is it a coping mechanism for the overwhelming scale of modern life, a way to personify the dangers we cannot fully control? Or does it speak to a deeper, more ancient fear embedded within our very being, a fear of the dark and what lurks unseen? The Shadow Man in his elusive terror may forever haunt the fringes of our imagination, but the true lessons lie in understanding ourselves and the very real world we navigate. The darkness beneath the city may hold no supernatural predators, but it certainly holds lessons in vigilance, community, and the profound power of human perception. The quest for safety, both physical and psychological, remains an ongoing journey, one that requires our constant attention and collective effort. The ongoing journey for safety, both physical and psychological, demands our unwavering attention and collective effort. It is a journey that transcends the mere absence of a supernatural entity and delves into the very fabric of our urban existence, challenging us to confront not just what we fear, but why we fear it. The true horror perhaps isn't a spectral figure, but the vulnerability we feel when confronted with the immense impersonal nature of the city. This exploration into the subway's hidden horrors has peeled back layers of myth and confronted the raw anxieties that fuel them. We've dissected the phantom lurking below, the enigmatic shadow man, not to dismiss the genuine terror some have experienced, but to understand its origins. The dramatic accounts, rich with chilling details, serve to set a mysterious tone, drawing us into the legend without immediately seeking to debunk it. What emerged was a narrative of a blurry figure, a sudden disappearance, a fleeting shadow that seemed to defy explanation. At the core of the Shadow Man myth lies a fundamental human question. Is this a genuine threat, a tangible predator, or merely a reflection of our deepest fears projected onto the canvas of the subway's perpetual twilight? Through the analysis of common sightings, we discovered recurring characteristics: the indistinct form, the unsettling speed, the feeling of being watched. These elements, while terrifying, often align with psychological phenomena. The pareidolia effect, for instance, perfectly explains how our brains, eager to make sense of ambiguous stimuli, can conjure a human-like form from a random pattern of light and shadow, especially in the low-light, high-stress environments characteristic of subway tunnels. The power of suggestion, amplified by online forums and shared urban legends, then solidifies these vague experiences into concrete sightings, creating a collective narrative that reinforces the myth. When we delved into alleged disappearances, the evidence became even more elusive. Cross-referencing historical missing persons reports with official police and transit authority records revealed a stark contrast between anecdotal claims and verifiable data. While tragic disappearances certainly occur in or near transit systems, a consistent shadow man pattern simply doesn't materialize. The digital graveyard of forum posts, filled with whispers and theories, stands in stark opposition to the documented facts. This isn't to diminish the pain of those affected by real disappearances, but to highlight the critical difference between a compelling story and substantiated truth. The true terrors of the underbelly, it turns out, are far more mundane, yet no less dangerous. Accidental falls onto tracks, intrusions into restricted areas, and the harsh realities faced by those living rough in the tunnels represent tangible threats that demand our attention. The psychological impact of urban isolation, the vastness of the subway system, and the inherent loneliness of late-night travel can indeed breed a sense of unease and vulnerability, making one susceptible to perceiving threats where none exist. Historical accounts also remind us of genuine accidents and crimes that have occurred within transit systems, serving as a stark contrast to the supernatural claims. These real dangers underscore the importance of practical safety measures and the constant vigilance required in public spaces. Ultimately, the Shadow Man is a myth, a powerful narrative construct. Yet, the underlying fears he represents are profoundly real and deeply rooted within the human psyche. We create monsters in the shadows, not because they are physically present, but because they provide a tangible form for our formless anxieties. The fear of the unknown, the dread of helplessness, the vulnerability to the impersonal forces of the city. This journey has been an exercise in empowerment through awareness, encouraging practical safety practices in public transit, from situational awareness to reporting suspicious activities. The darkness beneath the city may not harbor supernatural predators, but it undeniably holds lessons in vigilance, community, and the profound power of human perception. The quest for safety, both physical and psychological, remains an ongoing journey, one that requires our constant attention and collective effort.